Here's a belief that quietly wrecks people's health. I'm fine on 6 hours. The unsettling truth from the research is that you can feel completely fine while your brain and body are measurably impaired, and you'd be the last to know it. Sleep loss hides itself, because sleep was never just rest. While you're out, your brain runs a night shift, filing memories and flushing out waste. Cut that maintenance short, and a measurable cascade begins, from one bad night to weeks of running short. This is education, not a dare, so let's see what's actually happening. And along the way, we'll clear up the myths about catching up on weekends, training yourself to need less, and whether more sleep is always better. Let's go in. First, what is sleep actually doing? Far from shutting down, your brain is intensely busy. During deep sleep, it replays the day's experiences, moving memories from temporary storage into long-term keeping. That's why good sleep can cement what you learned, while a missed night leaves it fragile. There's a second night job that's even more surprising. During sleep, the spaces between brain cells widen, and fluid washes through, clearing metabolic waste built up during the day. Researchers call this the glymphatic system, basically a cleaning crew that mostly works nights. An honest note: much of the glymphatic detail comes from animal studies, with human evidence still emerging. But the principle is increasingly supported. Sleep isn't downtime, it's active maintenance. So what happens when you cut it short? Start with the acute timeline, where the evidence is strongest. The first system to fail isn't dramatic. It's your ability to sustain attention, not quick reflexes, the slow, boring task of holding focus over minutes. After about 16 to 17 hours awake, that ability has degraded to roughly the level of someone legally too drunk to drive. And the dangerous part is that attention doesn't fade smoothly, it drops out. You get microsleeps, brief, involuntary episodes of actual sleep lasting 1 to 10 seconds, often without noticing. Behind the wheel, one microsleep can be fatal. This is why drowsy driving is genuinely, unambiguously dangerous. Never drive sleep-deprived. It's not just your brain. After even one short night, your metabolism shifts. In controlled studies, one night of just 4 hours sleep reduced the body's ability to handle glucose by around 25%, a one-night dip toward the metabolic state seen in diabetes. Your insulin works less effectively overnight. Push past a full day and night awake, and perception can start to distort, but the dramatic hallucination stories are overstated. These effects are dose-dependent, vary hugely between people, and are not inevitable. Real, possible, but not the guaranteed spectacle the internet implies. And this is not something to try. Even the famous claim that sleep deprivation spikes cortisol needs a caveat. For acute, total sleep loss, the cortisol picture is mixed. Some studies show little change. The stress hormone story is much stronger for chronic short sleep than for one dramatic all-nighter. Precision matters. So one bad night clearly bites. But most people aren't pulling all-nighters. They're quietly running on 5 or 6 hours, night after night. That's where it gets insidious. This is the real-world case, chronically getting 5 to 6 hours instead of 7 to 9. The metabolic effects don't reset. They accumulate. In a realistic study, 6 weeks of modestly restricted sleep, about 6 hours a night, measurably worsened insulin resistance, independent of weight change. Your metabolism quietly drifts the wrong way. Timing makes it worse. When sleep is short and mistimed, like shift work, sleeping against your body clock, the damage roughly doubles. Twice the insulin impairment and twice the inflammation, even with the same total hours. It's not only how much you sleep, but when. What about appetite? You'll hear that short sleep makes you hungrier, stated as fact, but the evidence is mixed. Some studies show shifts in hunger hormones, while a recent pooling of trials found no consistent effect. The population link between short sleep and weight gain is real, but the exact hormone mechanism is contested. Don't trust certainty where the science is still unsettled. But here's the most insidious finding. When you're chronically short on sleep, you stop noticing how impaired you are. Subjectively, you feel adapted, like you're functioning fine. Objectively, your performance keeps declining. The gap between how good you feel and how well you function is exactly what makes chronic sleep loss dangerous. You lose the ability to judge your own deficit, so you can't fully trust your sense that you're okay. That's the everyday toll. But what about the long game? What does years of poor sleep do to the brain itself? Remember the overnight cleaning crew? Among the waste it helps clear are proteins linked to Alzheimer's disease, including amyloid. A careful human study found that normal sleep cleared more of these proteins from the brain than sleep deprivation did. Poor sleep appears to leave more waste behind. This is real and important, but this is also the most overclaimed idea in sleep science. It does not mean sleep deprivation causes Alzheimer's or that good sleep prevents it. What we have is one plausible mechanism disrupted by sleep loss. The full chain from poor sleep to clinical Alzheimer's has many links that are not all proven in humans. The honest framing: poor sleep looks like one of several modifiable factors that may accelerate a process already shaped by genetics and aging, not a sole cause you can blame or fully escape. That's reason to take sleep seriously for brain health, without fear-mongering certainty. What about lifespan? Across studies of over 1 million people, both short and long sleepers had higher mortality, with the lowest risk around 7 hours. But the caveats are big. The data are self-reported, and the long sleep risk is heavily confounded. Sick people often sleep more, so illness may cause the long sleep, not the other way around. So, the short sleep mortality signal is real but modest, not the dramatic death sentence headlines suggest. The takeaway isn't panic. It's that 7 to 9 hours is a genuine sweet spot, and chronically drifting below it carries measurable cost. Which leads to the questions everyone asks: can you catch up, and can more sleep or training beat the system? First, myth. I'll catch up on the weekend. Recovery sleep fixes how sleepy you feel fairly quickly, but objective performance recovers slowly and incompletely. In a 6-week study, 2 nights of weekend recovery sleep failed to restore attention and other cognitive deficits built up over the week. You feel better. You aren't fully restored. The metabolic damage is even more stubborn. Weekend recovery doesn't reverse it, and the irregular schedule adds social jet lag, shifting your body clock back and forth. Catch-up sleep is a partial patch, not a reset button. Sleep debt isn't a loan you fully repay on Saturday. Next myth: more sleep is always better. Not quite. Risk is lowest around 7 hours and rises if people regularly sleep much longer too. A lot of that long sleep risk is probably illness causing extra sleep, not sleep causing harm, but it still kills the idea that you should sleep as much as humanly possible. There's a sweet spot, not a more is always better rule. And the hustle culture myth: I've trained myself to need less sleep. Almost certainly not. What's happened is you've adapted to feeling impaired. Your performance is still degraded. You've just lost the ability to notice. Genuine short sleepers who thrive on under 6.5 hours carry a rare gene and are vanishingly uncommon. You're far more likely to be tired and wrong about it. One more. That nightcap to help you sleep? Alcohol fragments sleep and wrecks its quality. So, what does the evidence say to do? First and biggest, prioritize consistent duration in the 7 to 9 hour range. Not a rigid 8 hours or else, a range, with individual variation. The goal is to stop chronically running a deficit, because that's where the measurable damage lives. Second, consistency of timing matters as much as duration. Going to bed and waking around the same time keeps your body clock aligned, which, as we saw, roughly halves the metabolic harm compared with erratic, mistimed sleep. Regularity is an underrated superpower. Third, if you're genuinely short on a given day, a short daytime nap can recover some cognitive performance, useful, though not a substitute for real nightly sleep. Skip alcohol as a sleep aid. Protect the basics: dark, cool, consistent, and enough. And keep honest expectations. You can't bank sleep very effectively, you can't fully catch up after, and you almost certainly can't train your way to needing less. The body keeps the books. The reliable strategy is getting enough, regularly, not weekend heroics. Also know when it's more than habit.